Hello, friends. This, of course, is another episode of... Instead of reading any of the literally hundreds of books on these shelves, Emily instead decides to reread books from her teenage years because change is scary. Or, better known as...
I oral lobot side trip fit tupkis.
Today we're talking about a series of what if people got in contact with a unknown super virus and had to quarantine in place. Really speculative fiction here. The series as a whole doesn't have a name. It's just referred to by its first book, which is No Safety in Numbers by Dana Lawrence. It came out in 2013, which is just a couple years after the big swine flu epidemic, which is referenced a couple of times in the book. But now having read it after having lived through a pandemic the past few years, yeah. Our main characters are Lexi, who is the daughter of a senator, Ryan, who is this big high school football star, Shay, who is new in town, and Marco, a busboy of a restaurant who has a really big chip on his shoulder. And this all takes place at a mall, which is easy to quarantine. I mean, they just lock the doors and all that stuff. So the story starts out normal. It's a normal day at the mall until a mysterious device is found in the HVAC system, releasing an unknown toxin into the air ducts. Lexi's mom, the senator, who happens to be at the mall that day, immediately takes control and orders the mall into a quarantine. Everyone is told to stay in the stores, and the halls are being patrolled by security to make sure people can't be seen from the exits, because news obviously finds out, and cameras are starting to go in through all the windows and doors to see oh, can we see what's going on in there? But the senator is hey, stay in the stores. And the internet is also stopped somehow. I don't know how technology works, but the internet is stopped, so the people inside can't tell what's going on outside. Everything starts off normal enough. The stores and the restaurants try to keep going business as usual. The restaurants especially are super busy because people have to eat. But tensions rise as resources grow thin and external government assistance slowly stops. The mysterious virus is rapidly mutating, initially starting as it's just an infection, to killing you within 48 hours. A CDC epidemiologist who is that the right word? Epidemiologist? It must be, because I wrote it down. Epidemiologist. Okay. A CDC epidemiologist miraculously discovers that people who got that year's flu vaccine are somehow immune. So that's how they do it. But by the time this news is discovered, it has been 17 days of people stuck inside the mall. Which, I mean, in terms of initial discovery to finding out not a cure, but better information, 17 days, 2.5 weeks, that's pretty dang fast. I suppose you do have a small quarantine pool that you're working with. I mean, a mall. They say several times in this series how many people are in the mall, but oh god, it's been a minute since I've read the series. Who'd have thunk that taking care of a newborn takes up a lot of your time? Anyway, it's been 17 days. Different gangs have risen up. Entire floors of the mall and stores have been taken as territory. At one point, one of the gangs has blown up the power box, and the mall has been thrust into darkness, and it's been dark for 3 days or something. It's insane. And the total death count is several hundred people, possibly thousands. They never really know for sure. At the very end, we get a small jump forward. 3 weeks later, thousands of non-disclosure agreements, and the mall is destroyed. Let's talk about formatting. It's the most egregious part of this series for me. In the first book, we have our 4 main characters, and it's told in limited third person, and we jump between each of them per chapter. So we get this person for a chapter or 2, and this person for a chapter or 2. Totally fine. Totally run-of-the-mill ensemble storytelling. The second book, we have times. So at 1:00, we go between our 4 characters and see what each of them are doing for that hour. And then 2:00, each of the characters, what they're doing for that hour. But then halfway through the book, like not even the next book, halfway through the book, we go back to one person per chapter. And then also there's other characters, not just our 4. There's just more characters. Okay? And then third book, each chapter is a new person again. Okay, cool, fine. But more people. And now it's in first person for some reason. What? The inconsistency is just super annoying. I feel like I picture the writer and their editor just emailing back and forth frantically like, how are we supposed to keep this storytelling consistent while still giving the audience information that our 4 characters wouldn't necessarily know? Like, the first person we get that isn't one of our main 4, if I remember correctly, it's been a minute since I've read this, is the senator. Obviously, she would have a lot more information than our 4 teenage protagonists, but it's like, when you have a format set up, to suddenly change it halfway through the series is only a little annoying. Like in the third book, we suddenly have the senator talking in a walkie-talkie to the government people outside. And this is eventually how the people outside find out that the epidemiologist's findings about the flu vaccine and that it's not totally like gonna kill everyone inside, that there's hope. But these daily walkie-talkie updates aren't mentioned at all as a thing until it just happens. And you're like, oh, okay, I suppose this has just been happening. Like, okay, I understand that writing a book, let alone a series, is incredibly difficult, but I feel like this could have been better taken care of in an outlining period. And my next big thing with the series is that of our 4 main characters, 3 of them have fairly intermingling stories by like a quarter of the way through the first book. Like, they know each other, they're interacting with each other, and it's all good. While Lexi is just hanging out by herself with her mom, I guess. And she doesn't really meet anyone until like the last book. And that's annoying, but it's fine. But once we get to that point, her interactions are almost entirely, oh my gosh, I hope Marco likes me. Oh, he's so nice. Oh, he likes Shay. Oh, that's so unfortunate. And then Shay, who it starts off, she's at the mall with her grandmother and her little sister. Her grandmother very quickly dies, and her little sister just goes off with her friends, I guess. She just disappears. But Shay's, most of her point of view were like, oh my gosh, Ryan. Meanwhile, Ryan and Marco are only peripherally thinking about the girls, but are also thinking about like what's actually going on and like the power dynamics of the different groups and gangs rising up and trying to make sure that they're not going to be freaking killed. Because at one point, one of Ryan's friends steals a gun off of a security guard and legit like shoots a couple of people. I'm just not in love with the very clear break between the female point of view and the male point of view. Like, Lexi has, oh my gosh, I'm just thinking about it. With her not interacting with anyone until the last book, I feel like she was just created as a character to get a perspective of what the senator, like the person in charge of the quarantine, what the senator was doing. And then we get to like the last book and the author's like, shoot, there's stuff that the senator is doing that Lexi wouldn't know about. Yeah, we'll just put the senator's point of view in. It'll be fine. No one will notice.
Continue.
I can't. Not while you're dancing like that.
Why not?
You look like idle animation.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'm just idling. I won't even look at you.
I hate you so much.
Go on. Record your thing.
Okay.